Yetz Hashem, Yetz Hashem. Hashem, this will not be Lamaisa, but it is for now. The 3 weeks and 9 days in Tisha B'Av. So there is a misnomer, sort of misnomers in Halachah. One, people say that about 60 plus chapters in the Shulchan Aruch of halachas of Avelus. And yes, like all areas, halacha may have minhagim, but it's not all minhagim. There's a little part. There's the Raisa, there's Drabanan, and then there's some minhagim. Another misnomer, people think that the 3 weeks is only applicable to whom? Ashkenazim. And the Sephardim don't have 3 weeks because a lot of things that we have, the Ashkenazim have, Sephardim don't have. Oh, they don't have the concept of the 3 weeks. And that's not true. The concept of Bein HaMitzarim, the 3 weeks, is from the olden days, from the Gemara, and the Shulchan Aruch has it as well. Yes, there's certain leniencies. We don't have weddings. We don't have parties 3 weeks. The Shulchan Aruch doesn't have that stringency. Certain things that we already restrict from the 9 days, he might only restrict from the week of Tisha B'Av. But does he have the concept of 3 weeks? Absolutely. He mentions it several times in the Shulchan Aruch, just to give you some examples of Bein HaMitzarim, which is just part of our Mesorahs from Tanakh, from Kinos, from Eicha. So just an understanding of the Shulchan Aruch on Bein HaMitzarim, the 3 weeks. Okay, so he writes, talks about kibbutz begadim, fixing clothing, and then he writes that we refrain from not having meat and wine b'Shabbat zu, that week, which is what Sephardim. Sephardim abstain from that week. Well, we do the whole 9 days. And then he writes, V'yeshe mosifim merosh chod, all 9 days. V'yesh, and this is the Shulchan Aruch mosifim ni yud zayin b'tamuz. So the Shulchan Aruch has a concept of the 3 weeks. He just certain the Sephardic tradition very often was more lenient for whatever reason. But he has the concept of the 3 weeks. Sometimes he just mentions as a possibility, something actually embraces it as halacha. We'll see both kinds. So an example where, so by wine, he mentions it as a shita, that some have it all 3 weeks, but he doesn't hold that way. Then what about getting a haircut? What about a haircut? So we have, for how long haircuts? 3 weeks. He writes Tisporet Shavua Zeh. Okay, so he has getting a haircut. So they're machmir on that week. Shavua Shechal Bo Tisha B'Av. Then he has not washing. Yesh Nagim Lo Lirchot, and he brings in from Rosh Chodesh. Some say only the week of Tisha B'Av, and some say not to wash from when. And he actually says he all brings that down, and Shiva Sabbatam was the 3 weeks. Now don't forget, the washing now is very, very different. We have running water. Not to go ahead and wash is hard. So
especially in this weather.
Especially this weather, but we have different hygiene than hundreds of years ago. And many say that even if it's a 3 weeks, they have a chumash. I don't know if anyone has the 3 weeks anymore. But if you have the 9 days or the week of, like Ashkenazim have the 9 days, so there are those who will need to take a quick shower just to get rid of the sweat. But it shouldn't be, sometimes people have those music that plays, that's waterproof, and you have a nice 20-minute bath and shower, and you're singing all your favorite tunes in the shower and having a good old time. So that you shouldn't do in the 9 days. Quick rinse off. And if you can make it not as hot as usual, just warm enough that you could deal with it. And it's 2 minutes, not 10 minutes, just to clean yourself off. Many are lenient that way, because that's not defined as rechitza shel tanug, as pleasurable washing. That's defined as just for your basic, sanity. Go crazy without it. And also in terms of ben adam l'chaveiro, walk around seriously. The post can talk about it. Most can talk about it. Mamish, a person is not clean and smells, it's not fit to others. It's a different level of hygiene than we've had hundreds of years ago. What? So if you can have it as cool as tolerable, the better. Okay, the cooler the better. Okay. But he does bring down the concept of 3 weeks over here. Fine. Okay. He had the 3 weeks over there. So he didn't embrace it as halachi, but he mentioned the Rashitas that way. Then he actually mentions this as halacha. You should avoid saying shechenu bein hamitzarim during the 3 weeks. And he doesn't mention as a sheet, he mentions that, he doesn't mention other opinions. That's his shita. But on Pidyon Ben, you do say, you don't want to push off the. You have Pidyon Ben, God set that up for you. You didn't set that up. God set that up. And then if you have your Pidyon Ben and say Shechianu as well, so that he does have. Regarding Shechianu, we mentioned this in the past. Does that mean that you can't get new fruit and new clothing? People over which is the Ashkenazi tradition, agrees. So it's an issue not of buying new things, an issue of Shechianu. So if it's a new fruit, they normally say Shechianu on, it would be best to avoid. Some are lenient maybe on Shabbos, on getting new clothing. If it's something we say Shechianu on, then best to avoid. Say it's Asar, I'm say Asar. Overly Zahir, that's his language. So he doesn't use the word Asar. Totally Zahir, it's best to avoid it. So if you could buy it afterwards, or if it's clothing that is not so special to you. You only say Shechianu on clothing that's very excited about. Doesn't mean anything to you. Socks, pants, that's very cheap, or even a supa. You get suits all the time for business. It means nothing to you. And for this other person, a new shirt is exciting. It's subjective. Okay, you can have one person, a millionaire, that a suit means nothing to him. Another person who has no money that gets a new shirt is excited. It all depends on the excitement level. So, but now you could do when you purchase it, but the minute to do it when you wear it. So you could get something and not say Shechianu and only say Shechianu when you wear it after the 9 days. Or what if it's furniture? You know, say someone asks me about furniture, getting a beautiful new couch they're all excited about. So there the bracha is not Shechianu when it's something for you and others. The bracha is what? Tova Meitiv. The Shulchan Aruch writes that we don't say Shechianu. It doesn't say not say Tova Meitiv. So the Steichem and another say no. When he says don't say Shechianu, he means brachos of simcha over new purchases. He just mentioned Shechianu, but it'd be any happy bracha over a purchase. Rav Moshe Feinstein says no. He said Shechianu because he meant Shechianu. What's it in Shechianu Atova Meitiv? They're both over happy purchases that you feel good about. And if we want to avoid it in the 3 weeks, then avoid it. Why differentiate between Shechianu and Atova Meitiv? Why? Because Rav Moshe and others maintain that is not the bracha over a happy purchase. That's not the problem. It's the actual bracha Shechianu. Think of the words. What do we say? Blessed to you, Hashem. Shechianu. You've kept me alive. V'kimanu, you preserved me. V'kianu, and we reached what? This time. What a tragic time. So many horrible things happen over the centuries. Thank you for letting me reach this time. So much sensitivity to the bracha and to this time period. So it's not a problem of a bracha of simcha. It's a problem of the specific text. So therefore, the relevance of this is limited a bit. Why? Because the very often you only say Shechianu when you wear something, so you can still buy it as long as you wear it, or you're going to buy something that you don't say Shechianu on, or you're going to go ahead and say Tova Meitiv. So it's not that restricting of a halach. Okay. Any questions? Someone have a question? Yes. I could joke, and this is someone said, if you buy a skirt, and in today's society, you're right, if I feel like a woman that day, but I don't buy a skirt. So, yeah, oh boy. Oh yeah, okay. Anyway, so It would be Beged Isha. Thank God the Israel, as we are free, had a lot of woke and craziness in this country to do, but thank God that would still be considered Beged Isha Baruch Hashem and a violation for man to wear a skirt. Okay. And it all depends on society. Like where in Scotland, when a man wears a what? A kilt. That's not Beged Isha. Anyways, this when a woman buys a skirt, it depends totally on her feelings. She's excited or not. Simchat Halev, the Shulchan Aruch writes, an ani that buys something and he is sameach, or someone gives him second hand. He goes to the Shema shop where people bring stuff to the Shema shop, and for him, he's so excited. But second, third hand, he doesn't. He's just so excited. That's all that matters is subjective element. Yeah. Yes, it's true. You never know. You never know how it's going to play out. We don't know. We don't know. Tisha B'Av, sometimes the year it's hard to them, this way, that way. As the Rambam writes, we just don't know how it's all going to pan out. We don't know. So that's regarding Shechianu. And then, so we already have some by meat and wine. And some abstain, some fast for the 3 weeks even. Some avoid the shaving for 3 weeks. Fasting is not all for, during the day and then eat at night. Others say don't do that. Your whole focus on davening and learning is going to be so diminished. It would be a chumrah hamevi l'dei, because it's not a healthy chumrah. But there were those who had that shita. And then the Shulchan Aruch finishes off with a really interesting one about the 3 weeks again. This is case 4 and 5 in the 3 weeks. Yetzarech. Lizayim Yudzayim b'tamas atisha b'av lo lechidi me'arba sha'ot atesha sho, for the 4th to the 5th hour in the day. Okay. Sometime during the day, because it was considered to be some dangerous time. I would have been every day if you shouldn't do that. Yeah, but normally, statistically, it's all right to walk during that time. But we're extra nervous during this time where just bad things happen to Jewish people, so we're extra careful. And then another example, you may or may not like this, below Yakua Talmidim b'yamim. Don't hit your students during these days. Because just things can happen. The little smack that you give all year, he's fine with. This year, I don't know, just during the 3 weeks, it's just bad stuff going on. Right. So the obvious implication is you don't hit them when? During the 3 weeks. But what about the rest of the year? It seems to be saying that it would be all right. And that's the famous Shlomo HaMelech line. What is it? Spare? Yeah, so this is not exactly a 3 weeks point, but I will mention the simple pshat in Masara is that a little podge is fine, is chinuchi educational. That is the pshat from simple pshat in Shlomo Melech, and the kid has to know, bottom lines is red lines, and you crossed it. Of course, if the parent's doing it out of anger, personal insult, because he didn't listen to me, and now I'm insulted, and that's where it's come from. It's not healthy. And if the person is not so stable, then that's not healthy. And you have this generation where you do that to a kid, he'll just run away to all the parks that are welcoming him with open arms. So the post-game did shift on this one. And you say, oh, that makes sense. It's just a different society. The only thing is shifting a practice because it's a new society. That could sound very, very delicate. That's a delicate thing. Maybe you should shift this halacha or that halacha or that halacha because it's new society and new practices and it's a different culture. That's a very slippery slope. One of the big rabbis who mentioned this, who's accepted by all the Hasidish yeshivas Datilami, is Rav Shlomo Volbe. You may have heard of Rav Volbe. He has the Binyan Chinuch, his books on Chinuch. Ali Shor is a classic Musar work. He was accepted by everyone. And he's the one who really spoke about like different generation. And, it may have worked previously. It's just not. It's not like, oh, halacha says where it's filmed. Halacha says hit your kid. No. Halacha says that sometimes hitting your kid could be a good educational tool. Okay, but what if it's not anymore? Halacha by mezuzah doesn't say, well, do mezuzah if people will appreciate it. Oh, now people don't treat. No, put up a mezuzah, wear tefillin, light Shabbos candles. Okay, but there by hitting, it's not a fixed mitzvah to hit. It is a part of a misgarret, a framework of chino. So Roby was the bold one to say when this needs to be revisited because it can not being a good chinuch tool anymore, and therefore most places, most yeshivas, I don't think any school tolerates it anymore. Mishrat Chinuch doesn't allow it, and I don't know what goes on in the States, but I don't know. I don't know what was so, but those who may still do it, I don't know if anyone does, it's a bit of a delicate topic because it was once part of our Masorah. I'm not going to ask anyone to raise hands what happened 60, 70, 80 years ago, because I'm sure no one in this room ever acted out at home. But if you know any siblings that may have, it wasn't so far-fetched to get a little potch, a little belt. It wasn't like unheard of. And our parents didn't know what they were doing. I don't think we should look at it that way. Don't look at it that way. It was a different era where certain things were makubal, and our Masorah does seem to accept it. And it's here we learn it indirectly, because here he says what? The low yakut talmidim, don't hit them during the 3 weeks. Obviously, you're doing the rest of the year, but it's open in the Shulchan Aruch in Halachos Melamdin by the halachas of Rebbe's teaching. The great Rambam, the great philosopher, the great rationalist, he also has it. He has it. So it's just important to know. It's important to know that, that's terrible. In this generation, we don't do that anymore. We being most people, yeah. Interesting. So it does, very interesting. So I didn't mention this halacha because there the Shulchan Aruch doesn't mention the 3 weeks. I mentioned the 5 times that he mentions 3 weeks. In terms of mazam, if we have a din with a guy, then try to avoid having based in from Rosh Chodesh, either after the 9 days, and some say even the whole month, okay, because someone to say the month of Av is a bad mazel, so it's the whole month. So now Drew's asking a great question, and we'll finish off with this. What do you say about going to Orthodox? Should we wait? So if it's something that you can't wait and we need a reaction right away, like to the massacre, and the more we wait, the worse it is, and I don't know if we take it into cheshbon, just like going to a basin with a guy, only when all factors being equal do we say to wait. The case has been waiting for 6 years, so wait another month to do the basin after, the Beit Din after, or the Beit Mishpat, but something which is timely needs to be dealt with. So I don't think anyone to say wait it out because of that. Your question would be, let's say it's going on, and we're going to hit back, but it's been schlepping for whatever reason. Anyway, so should you take into account in theory? It's more of a theoretical. It's a nice question. This is about based it, not going to Beit Mishpat, with the Nachri, because we have a bad mazel, whatever that may mean. So what does that mean in terms of other areas? It's a nice question. A nice question.
I know they mentioned the town that used to write jobs and they got destroyed. It's your problem.
Wow.
To fight back on Shabbos.
Wow.
So
wow. I'd like to. You could send me that place where it's written. That's amazing. There were 2 from. They don't want to fight on Shabbos, Machal Shabbos, they end up losing their lives. Wow. That's what's known as a Chassid Shoteh. Chassid Shoteh, he's being so pious, but you're being foolish. Or that's no, or Chumrah, maybe they cool. You're being so but it led to somewhere, it's going to lead to a leniency somewhere else. Be careful. Be careful. That's what people are always trying to get is din. Know the din. That's what we should be anchored to. We should be anchored to din. Stringent, not lenient. Din. That's the goal. It might be times it's appropriate to have stringency. Might be times it's appropriate to have leniency, but know the din. Anyway, I'd love to see this. That's a great source. Yes. So once again, if it's totally, the doctors say it could happen either way, so we might push it off till after Av. Okay, that's only when all factors being equal. All factors being equal, but there's no problem to delay whatsoever. Rav Soloveitchik was weird. Hador. I remember once, 83, 84, a friend told me, we were in Far Rockaway, and over Soloveitchik is giving shir today. He just found out from a friend. It was like this, 15 of us around the table with Rav Soloveitchik. Oh man, he gives shir, it could be hundreds. It was some weird, like it was unofficial shir, and it was during the summer, and I guess people weren't really around. It was what he said in the 9 days, the 3 weeks, we don't trust the laws of nature. Normally, we don't trust the laws of nature. So it's just different attitude. Things that we normally go with certain assumptions of causality. There's just a different kind of hashkacha, negative hashkacha during this time. Yeah, so as Edie said, it's Hashem. We turn into a time of simcha, and just to summarize the main points, we've looked through the Shulchan Aruch, what people always tell me. They tell me two things. Which is shtus, is not true. And 3 weeks doesn't apply to Sfard. Not true. Certain stringencies that we have, all 3 weeks, they may only have the 9 days or during the week of Tisha B'Av. But we showed 5 places in the Shulchan Aruch. He has the 3 weeks, so he mentions it, whether he follows it or not. He knew of such a concept. It's from Eicha. And certain things he embraces, such as not saying Shechin all 3 weeks, which we said is might not apply to a mated. I don't survive because very often you only can make Shechin when you wear and something that you're excited about. So you just wait till after the 9 days to make the bracha. And often it's going to be Tova Meitiv, and Rav Moshe says the bracha of Shechin is the issue, not the bracha of Simcha. There's argument. Then we saw at the end, not doing certain things they normally do, walk at times, it should normally be fine, but a little bit risky, whatever that may mean. I don't know practically what he meant, what was going on during 4 to 9. But either way, that would normally do. We don't do it in the 3 weeks. We're not nervous and then hitting the kids, which a little discussion about chinuch. We just don't, as the Rav said, we just don't rely on the normal rules of nature. It's fascinating. Line. Anyway, Simcha, be a time of celebration.
Can I ask you a quick question, Rabbi Myers? What about gardening? Gardening. What kind of things can you do in terms of gardening?
Just about gardening. So to maintain gardening is fine. Plant a new garden the 9 days, best not to.
But if my tomatoes come,
enjoy them. Yeah, you can have the tomatoes and eat them too. Okay.
So in terms of watering and pruning, doing any of that is okay?
Enjoy. What do you say?
In terms of watering and pruning and cutting, but just not absolutely planting.
Planting a new garden that would machmir in the 9 days, but otherwise it's fine.
So a small plant, like if you buy a small plant, can you plant that, or is that considered a garden?
I mean, to plant new things. That is an interesting question about planting. So the language in the Shulchan Aruch is the Tziyah Shel Simcha. Person plants it to eat it. Person plants it for the beauty. If it's just the beauty, best to avoid it. If it's more practical, then maybe that's more of a Tziyah, just a necessity type. Usually we avoid it during the 9 days. So we do before or after.
Okay, very good. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Okay.
Take care. Be well. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye.